What is going on, guys? Pete with Auto Repair Tips. In this video we are working on a 05 Mazda 3. Customer was getting a safety inspection and it failed for lower control arms. So let's take this car for a test drive and let's just see what it feels like. A little bit. I can feel the front suspension shifting just a little bit. But when I go to stop and take off, and I'm turning the wheel, you can feel a little bit. You can feel something in the suspension. So let's go ahead and get it up on the lift. Let's see what we got. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do is get off the tire. And to do that, you're going to have to jack the car up. And to make sure if you jack the car up, you use jack stands, safety first. That's a noisy little damn air ratchet. Can't hear myself think when I use that damn going tool. Alright. Let's take a look and see what we got. Alright guys, after checking the control arm over, the inside of these bushings are toast. On both sides are gone and ripped. That's why all that banging is we've been hearing. He's going to notice a big difference in his rad when he gets this rad. Alright, there's a nut on the back side. It is a 14 millimeter. Just take it off. After you take it off, put it on for just a couple of threads because we're going to knock that bolt out. Time to get a big hammer. Starting to move now. When you're working with older cars, these nuts and bolts that are rusted in there like that, sometimes you just can't help but do whatever it takes to get them out and just replace them. You just got to make sure if you go back with a lower control arm bolt on something like this on this Mazda, you got to make sure that the last part of it is solid, because that's what the lower ball joint will ride in. There's going to be a groove around that ball joint and it sits in there just like that. The front bolt is held on with a 19 millimeter. There you go. The last two bolts are held on with a 17 millimeter. Get a pry bar, we'll pry it down, get it out of the back. Last thing to do is knock out the lower ball joint. On this style here, you'll see a gap on the back side right here. I'll take a chisel and a hammer and I'll widen that gap a little bit and the ball joint will come right out. When it's rusted in there like that, you just have to just be patient and bang away. Alright, enough playing with it. Boom. All right, guys, the new control arms just came in. There's a big difference in the two. You can definitely see that this one's all rusted up and broken all up inside there. And this is what the new one looks like. It's gonna make a big difference in his riding. That knocking sound that we were hearing is definitely gonna go away. This is the part number to it. I'll put links in the description below where you can get these parts at. Anytime you purchase something through any of those links, a small portion helps the channel, and I appreciate that. All right, guys, let's get these parts on the car. The skill level in this job is going to be somewhere between about a 3 and a 4. It's not really that hard. Just getting things lined up and make sure you're doing everything safely is the biggest thing. When you're doing this, you got to be careful, like this would happen to me just now. The axle will come out a little bit. You got to make sure you get it back in, so it'll sit flush. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, once you get it to this point, you can put a jack underneath the control arm and jack it up just a little bit. I'm going to use a dead arm. I don't know why they call these things dead arms. I have no idea. More like a dead leg. We'll go ahead and slide the bolt through. Went and picked up new bolts and nuts for it. Just make sure when you buy it, you find one with a nice flange right here. So when it goes through, it'll sit in that ball joint, right in that groove. Boom, there it is. The first thing I did was I put the jack on this side of it so I could get it up a little bit and get the bolt through that ball joint. That's secure. Then I put the jack on the back side of the control arm to square it off to get the bolt, to get the lower bolt in there. noisy as damn air ratchet. Don't tighten it up all the way. Just get it started. Once you get both of them up in there, go ahead and tighten it down. We'll move on to 19 millimeter on the front side. Get it secure. Get a washer. And I got a locking nut to go on here. I'm going to put the washer off. Alright guys, got the new nut and bolt tight on the outer ball joint. Got the rear bolts up in there and the front bolt up in there. This job is done. Took a little bit more beating banging than I wanted to do, mainly because it's an older car and it's rusted up. But you're going to get that on older cars. I couldn't buy this bolt and nut at the auto parts store, couldn't find it in a hardware store. So we had a local nut and bolt place called J&J Fasteners. They happen to have exactly what I needed, so I went with that. Basically, it's a rinse and repeat for the right side. I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. We'll get it down. We'll go on our test drive and see how it does.